Now we want to go to CBS News reporter Nicole Sganga on the phone to find out. Nicole, what are your sources saying about this attack?
Yeah, Michael, two law enforcement sources telling CBS News the driver of this vehicle is dead. Law enforcement, FBI, and police now searching that vehicle, scouring for evidence, looking for additional weapons. You know, the mission here really is to determine a motive. And, you know, we heard the same word from police and FBI. That word is intentional. They called this incident complex, serious. No indication as of yet that this was terrorism, that there were any political, religious, ideological goals, but it's still very early in this investigation, and no doubt this perpetrator intended to commit a mass casualty attack. The suspect here fired on officers. We heard law enforcement say that. It appears that fire was returned. Two law enforcement officers at least injured, no casualties there at this time that we're aware of, but of course a mass casualty event. And this will complicate the FBI's investigation as they seek to determine why this suspect did what they did.
Nicole, do we know at this point if this was a lone attack, or is there a continued search for the possibility of additional suspects?
There is a continued search for the possibility of either additional suspects or those who might have aided or abetted this individual. That is more standard than anything. I mean, what law enforcement is doing now is a forensic and digital analysis of this individual once they positively identify the suspect here, the driver here. So, at this point, we have not heard law enforcement rule out the possibility of others. However, I will say, this has all the makings, in speaking with law enforcement, of a lone wolf attack, which, as Sam Vinograd mentioned on the phone earlier, is something that is constantly top of mind of all federal law enforcement officials, particularly when it comes to this kind of incident, this vehicle ramming incident, because it leaves investigators with less dots to connect. So at this point, we don't know of anyone else, connected to this horrific incident. Has the makings of a lone wolf attack based on conversations I've had. But again, law enforcement certainly not ready to rule out the possibility of others who might have been involved or frankly might have known, that this driver, this suspect had intended to carry out something so horrific.
All right, Nicole Sganga, thank you. Now let's go back to Kati Weis. She has been on the scene since the early morning hours. Kati, you've been talking with witnesses. You have been talking with people who were there in those early morning hours. What can you tell us about what they're saying?
Well, good morning. It's been a long morning for a lot of people here in this city that is unlike any other in the United States. It's a special place. It's a place where people come to have a good time. They let the good times roll here in New Orleans in the Big Easy, but far from an easy morning for so many people. We have more than 30 people now in the hospital, and it was just a chaotic scene. I was there just minutes after it happened. I saw people strewn across the street on the ground, getting help from first responders. There were a lot of people who looked to be in very critical condition, if alive at all. It was a very graphic, scary thing to witness, but a lot of people now searching for answers and wanting to know why something so horrific could happen on a night when so many people are having a joyous occasion, ringing in the new year.
I want to talk about that because this happened at 3 a.m. on Bourbon Street. For people who know Bourbon Street, there's a celebratory atmosphere on a normal day. We're talking about New Year's morning. If you can set the scene a little bit and talk about the mood. This is New Year's. There is a sense of optimism, a sense of new beginnings for so many people. And for this to happen here, of all places, if you can talk about the mood as you talk to witnesses there.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, in a place like New Orleans, this is a time, 3 a.m. is a time when things are at their peak, really, for people to be out having a good time. People joke that, the party doesn't get started till after midnight in this town. And so there were a lot of people that were out and about on Bourbon Street having a good time at that hour. This is right near where the French Quarter ends. So I spoke with witnesses who told me that they saw this truck plow through this crowd on Bourbon, which is a pedestrian only street. It is closed to through traffic. There are no cars going down Bourbon at that time. So they saw this truck coming and just hitting people. One woman told me her husband's ankle got clipped, but fortunately he was able to get out of the way. And then witnesses told me that they just heard gunshots all of a sudden. It was chaos, and something really startling and scary that many people were not expecting at all at a time when they were having a great time.
Horrifying, horrifying to hear these stories from the people on the ground there. Katie, thank you. We're going to check back in with you shortly, but earlier this morning we spoke with a witness who saw the carnage unfold and jumped in to help. Take a listen.
I'm an Iraq war veteran, and so have seen combat, and I think that's kind of immediately my instinct was to try to provide first aid as quickly as we could. I was hoping to, the thing that I know is to stop bleeding, as quickly as possible. Applying pressure or a tourniquet, or anything that can help stop bleeding as quickly as possible. And that was really the only thing going through my mind. And again, when we checked on people, they just were very clearly deceased, and there's nothing we could do.